right, so we always start off our show with the global and United States coronavirus statistics. According to the Johns Hopkins University, there are now more than 4.7 million coronavirus cases worldwide. More than 316,000 people have died. More than 1.8 million people have recovered. In the United States, more than 1.5 million people have been diagnosed with coronavirus. And America is approaching the grim number of recording 90,000 deaths. Over 346,000 people have recovered. In a bit of good news from the public health standpoint, the first coronavirus vaccine to be tested in people appears to be safe and able to stimulate an immune response against the virus, according to Moderna, its manufacturer here in the United States. And this is the first time a vaccine anywhere in the world has been tested in people and has been shown to work. The findings are based on results from only 8 people who each received 2 doses of the experimental vaccine starting in March. These people, they were very healthy between ages of 18 and 55. They made antibodies that were then tested in infected cells in the lab. They were able to stop the virus from replicating, which is the key requirement for an effective vaccine, is to stop the virus from multiplying. Now, the levels of these so-called neutralizing antibodies matched or exceeded the levels found in patients who had recovered after contracting the virus in the community. Now, this is very encouraging, but it does not prove yet that the vaccine works. Only now larger, longer studies can determine whether it will actually prevent people in the real world from getting sick. Now, Moderna's technology involving genetic material from the virus called the mRNA, which is well beyond anything I understand, but apparently it's relatively new and has yet to produce any approved vaccine. So this would be the first approved vaccine using material from the virus called mRNA. Now, early results from a handful of test subjects may not seem like much to go on, but the world, we are all in desperate need of good news. So with the highly contagious virus defying most efforts to control its spread, vaccines are seen as the best and perhaps only hope of eventually stopping this and even slowing the pandemic that has sickened more than 5 million people. Now, Moderna produced the vaccine in collaboration with the National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Now, this is the institute that's led by Dr. Anthony Fauci, which has also been leading the clinical trials. So this is actually the U.S. government and Moderna, led by Dr. Anthony Fauci. They are the first ones to show that at least in 8 people, a vaccine would work. Now, this institute, it's part of the National Institutes of Health, is also involved in research on other experimental coronavirus vaccines. You may have even heard Dr. Fauci talk about that we're going to have multiple vaccines from different manufacturers using different technologies, because not one vaccine is going to be able to produce enough vaccinations to vaccinate the entire world. We're going to need from dozens and dozens of different companies using different types of technologies to actually vaccinate the world. This was really good news simply because Wall Street, don't lie. People don't play with their money on Wall Street. If Wall Street believes this is like a real thing, the market's going to rally behind this stock. And that's exactly what it did. This stock was up more than 25% by mid-afternoon. So the stock went up 25% in half a day's trading, simply because the market believes that this is a possibility of really happening. Now, according to Moderna, they say that they're going to continue to do a larger scale research and a larger scale study, which is going to start in July with thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And if that is successful, they believe that they will be able to start to manufacture a vaccine by December or January, December 2020 or January 2021. Now, to what level, assuming this all works, to what level they can manufacture vaccines to reach enough people, we don't know. That's really the government really should be working behind the scenes right now to get manufacturing up to speed, the U.S. government. Number 2, how many of you would take the vaccine? Because you're kind of like, it's a prisoner's dilemma in a way, because you say, okay, I'll take the vaccine and I know I won't get coronavirus, and therefore I won't die from coronavirus, but nobody really knows the long-term health effects of this vaccine. Are you willing to gamble that yes, you won't get coronavirus. You can go about your day. You can go about your night. But who knows what'll happen 10, 20, 30 years from now? Are you willing to gamble that? Or are you willing to gamble that I'm not going to take it and I'm going to dodge coronavirus? Oh, I see somebody, look, and you kind of like gotta kind of weave your way in and out of society. You can't go into any places that are too crowded in case you get coronavirus. Because ultimately, from what I understand, you need in any population about 70% of the population to have the antibody against coronavirus in order to stop the spread of coronavirus. So what is 70% of the population? 70% of the population will either be, they already had the coronavirus and it's been determined they can never get it again, which we don't know yet if that's true, or you have this vaccination if ultimately it works and ultimately comes to market in December or January of this year. It will be optional, Sasha. Some people say they will take it. Some people say they won't. I'm on the fence. I don't know whether I would. I've taken lots of vaccinations. I get the flu shot every year. I don't know enough about it. Somebody asked me, they go, will you take it? I said, I don't know enough about it yet. I don't want to say yes. I don't want to say no. I don't know where the world's going to be with coronavirus in December. For example, if, in December, you can't walk outside without getting sick of coronavirus and you're stuck home for the rest of your life, well, then maybe you got to take your chances. But if, coronavirus is under control, maybe we got to take our chances and not take it. I don't know the answers yet. We'll see. We will see. Now, if you don't want to take the coronavirus vaccine, which they say will come out in December, January. By the way, Manchester Crawford says he will never, ever take it. Heck no. Heck no. Well, here's another option, Manchester Crawford. Scientists are pursuing another way to effectively treat coronavirus. Another way that's showing some promise, believe it or not, is using llamas. Yes. A new study shows that antibodies from llamas can neutralize the virus that causes coronavirus. Daniel Rapp, the co-author of that study, explained to VPR that camelids, that's the lids underneath the camels, the llama, which is a group that includes llamas, alpacas, camels, a couple of other animals too. They produce a specialized class of antibodies, which are called nanobodies. And the reason they're called this is because they're about half the size of the conventional antibodies that you and I would produce. In 2016, scientists vaccinated a 4-year-old llama named Winter with the coronavirus spike proteins from the virus. And that llama, they were able to isolate the 2 antibodies from that llama, one directed against MERS, which is Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, one directed against SARS. And they were both in the process of writing these results up when the current pandemic broke. So Winter, the llama, is totally fine. She's grazing peacefully. And they want to use the antibodies from the llama to then inject in you. So if you do not want to take the Moderna vaccine, you can always take the llama stuff. That's another option, llamas. And, maybe we should have saved this for Wednesday. We have a bunch of camels at Bradshaw Live that we pull out of the stables every Wednesday. We're going to have to ask our Bradshaw Live camels whether or not there they are. We're going to have to ask our Bradshaw Live camels whether or not they would want to participate in this too. Meanwhile, coronavirus or no coronavirus, parts of America is starting to open up. The majority of states are moving forward with phased-in approaches that often vary by county and city. Texas became one of the first to take aggressive reopening measures, allowing restaurants and retailers to reopen to limited customer capacity on May 1st. Last week on May 14th, Texas reported its highest single-day increase in new cases with 1,448 new coronavirus cases. Now, the question becomes with Texas, is it because they opened up their society or is it because they are now testing more? Probably a little of both. Governor Greg Abbott released a statement that said Texas continues ramping up its testing capabilities. There will be an increase in positive cases as the state targets the most high-risk areas. Now, if Texas literally starts to test enough people and has enough groups of people who are then going to track down coronavirus trackers, who are going to track down people who came into contact with other people who had coronavirus and get them quarantined, yeah, opening up could work in Texas. Let's see if that's what's really happening, and I hope it is. versus we just opened up, they're doing nothing, and now people are congregating next to each other and getting each other sick. I don't know. We'll find out soon. I hope it's what the governor says. Meanwhile, in New York City, we had some good news as well. Mayor de Blasio announced that New York City is likely to meet all 7 state criteria for opening up in early June. New York City is also making their own coronavirus test kits. He said by the week of June 1st, the city hopes to have over 60,000 test kits. He said hopefully in June, the city will meet all 7 points of state criteria to start easing coronavirus restrictions. He announced that there are now over 150 locations in New York City to get tested. Antibody testing began for more than 140,000 healthcare workers and first responders. And testing also identifies past coronavirus infections, and they're offered at hospitals, firehouses, police stations, corrections facilities. That was good news until he started opening his mouth more. De Blasio said he's not going to open up the beaches for Memorial Day. Big mistake, Mayor de Blasio, in my opinion. Mayor de Blasio said Sunday that beaches in New York City would not reopen for Memorial Day, despite beaches opening up everywhere else in the tri-state area. Several days ago, Governor Andrew Cuomo said beaches and lakeshores would reopen in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Delaware at 50% capacity. However, local governments are allowed to keep beaches closed if they think it's necessary. I think it's a bad mistake because if you're not going to open up beaches, the parks are going to be overcrowded. People are going to go to beaches outside of New York City. It's an easy drive to go to Long Island to a beach. It's an easy drive to go to Westchester to a beach or Connecticut. They're all going to congregate next to each other and bring back coronavirus back into New York City. So the more open spaces that you have for people to congregate, whether it's more open beaches, more open parks, that would give you the greatest opportunity to allow people to be separated from one another at reasonable social distancing. So I think that's just bad policy on Mayor de Blasio's part. But hey, I'm not the mayor of New York. Meanwhile, Governor Andrew Cuomo publicly confirmed at his daily briefing on Monday that he tested negative for coronavirus. He said that he was also going to require all nursing home staff to be tested twice a week. Cuomo said the state's capital and western regions are qualified now to reopen as well. Western New York will have all the contact tracers needed in place and are set to begin phase 1 reopening tomorrow. And some other good news, if you're a baseball fan, Major League Baseball is proposing an 82-game season starting in July. Last Monday, Major League Baseball formalized its plan to return to the field. The players' union now needs to accept the structure of the shortened season, and the league would also need to have enough tests for players and employees without depleting the public supply. The way they're going to do it is they're going to minimize travel. So teams that are close to one another, they'll probably go on buses and travel from city to city rather than getting on airplanes. In another ridiculous thing that if they ever did this would be a complete, utter disaster, knowing the MTA, they are considering weighing reserve seating for subways and buses when the lockdown ends. It means you would have to go online and buy a ticket to get on a bus or on a subway at a specific date and time. Yeah, I bet that will really work really well. I'm sure A, the whole system would break. B, nobody would be able to get a ticket to get on a subway or bus. C, it would be mass chaos. But this is what they're considering. MTA chairman and CEO Pat Foy said the idea is among several strategies. I hope this is not the strategy that they pick. They're kicking around strategies to try to keep commuters and transit workers safe after the coronavirus lockdown is over. Meanwhile, President Trump on Saturday doubled down on his support of mask holes, and he is saying that he is supporting maskless anti-lockdown protesters who insulted and bullied a reporter covering a demonstration in Long Island. The previous day, Trump blasted the report of the confrontation as fake news. But now he says people can't get enough of this. These were great people who were confronting this reporter because they don't want to wear any masks. Now, News 12 Long Island journalist Kevin Vesey reported on the demonstration against coronavirus safety measures in Comac on Thursday. Video captured protesters yelling at Vesey and insulting him. One man, another mask hole, deliberately advanced on Vesey, who pleaded with him to back off. I've been saying this for weeks now. I feel very bad for the seniors of high school and college. They didn't get to finish their college and university careers or their high school careers. the last few months of the year, which to me, your last few months of high school, your last few months of being in a university and going through the college experience and graduating with a diploma is the best years of your life. And I feel very badly for the children who didn't get that opportunity. And it was basically cut from their lives. They're never going to have that opportunity. So I feel very badly for them. I feel badly for lots and lots of people. Every group has their issues with coronavirus. Well, former President Obama, he was nice enough to deliver 2 virtual commencement addresses on Saturday, urging millions of high school and college graduates to fearlessly carve a path and to seize the initiative at a time when he says the nation's leaders have fumbled the response to the coronavirus pandemic. Now, President Obama's message to these graduates, he started at the HBCUs and also included a nod to immigrants and refugees.
Meaningful change requires allies in common cause. As African Americans, we are particularly attuned to injustice, inequality, and struggle, but that also should make us more alive to the experiences of others who've been left out and discriminated against. So rather than just say, what's in it for me, or what's in it for my community, and to heck with everyone else, stand up for and join up with everyone who's struggling, whether it's immigrants, refugees, the rural poor, the LGBT community, low-income workers of every background, women who so often are subject to their own discrimination and burdens and not getting equal pay for equal work. Look out for folks whether they are white or black or Asian or Latino or Native American. As Fannie Lou Hamer once said, nobody's free until everybody's free.
So in speeches that spoke to social inequities, Obama said the pandemic was a wake-up call for young adults, showing them the importance of good leadership and that the old ways of doing things just don't work. In his comments, which were one of a few public addresses to the national audience during the coronavirus outbreak, he said, a leadership void has created a clear mandate for the graduates, and I'm quoting Obama, if the world's going to get better, it's going to be up to you. Obama was not the only one leading a graduation. Oprah did so as well on Facebook. The star-studded virtual event dubbed #graduation2020 went live on Facebook Watch Friday, streaming to more than 50,000 Facebook users. Mindy Kaling, BJ Novak hosted the show, which acknowledged every high school and college in every state and shared stories and inspiration from graduates, parents, principals, and more. Stars such as Oprah Winfrey, Miley Cyrus, Hugh Jackman, Sterling K. Brown, Cardi B, and Aquafina virtually gathered to comfort graduates who are collectively frustrated because the coronavirus pandemic has halted commencement ceremonies. In ridiculously stupid Trump news, Eric Trump, the executive vice president of Trump Organization, said Saturday that Democrats are trying to milk the coronavirus outbreak for political advantage. Speaking with Fox News host Jeanine Pirro, another really smart lady, Eric Trump said Democrats are trying to milk this for everything they can, and it's sad. He said the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee, former Vice President Joe Biden, loves the pandemic because it allows him to avoid the campaign trail. He said Biden can't go on stage without making some horrible blunder. I mean, even from his basement, he's making awful gaffes every single day. So his campaign is thrilled he's not going out there. And he and Biden, his Democratic allies, were happy to use the virus as a reason to have his father from conducting campaign rallies. Meanwhile, Eric Trump is so certain that concern about the coronavirus, which has killed nearly 90,000 Americans, is politically driven that he predicted it would no longer be an issue after the election. You watch, he says, they'll milk it every single day between now and November 3rd. And guess what? After November 3rd, coronavirus will magically all of a sudden go away and disappear. Everybody will be able to reopen. It's gone. Voila! November 3rd. Voila! It's gone. Magic, 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 Eric. Voila! Meanwhile, Fox News knows it's not magic, and they're putting this crap on because CNN has reported that a memo to employees on Friday from the Fox Corporation announced workers have to work from home for at least another month. So why are they having their workers work at home for another month if they're telling everybody that coronavirus is fake news? The memo was sent to all Fox Corporation employees, which include employees of Fox News, that they will not begin a gradual return to the company's office until June 15th. The memo sent by Fox Corporation Chief Operating Officer John Nalen says that the company's properties would reopen in phases. Fox News has largely been operating under phase one of the multi-part plan, allowing only essential network personnel. The hypocrisy is that the memo comes as the network's on-air personalities have for weeks been echoing President Trump's call to reopen shuttered portions of the country, from schools to businesses. They have every person come on and saying the whole thing's politically motivated, and what more than Eric Trump to give the cherry on the top with that. So what hypocrisy. Thousands of people in California are hoping to sign up for a landmark new state relief program that will provide taxpayer-funded assistance to undocumented immigrants who have been shut out of federal relief programs and unemployment assistance in anticipation of the payments. So anybody who is undocumented in California will be able to get a check from the government of California for $500. In anticipation of the payments, people looking for information on how to apply over the weekend, we're directing a flurry of calls to the 12 nonprofit organizations contracted by California to go through the applications. By Monday, the lines are open, and many people have reported that they can't get through. And the reason is there's a lot more undocumented in America than the 10 or 11 million that Trump says. There's probably 10 or 11 million just in California alone. So the numbers of undocumented in America are much greater than the numbers that they think. Why do I know that? Simply because my office alone probably helped over 100,000 people in the last 15 years, 18 years. You can't tell me that I've helped 1% of American undocumented population. That would be impossible. So Adolfo Luno told the New York Times, "I'm praying that I get through, but his odds aren't good. His chances of getting a one-time grant of $500 per person or $1,000 per household is the equivalent of winning the lottery. The available funding will allow only about 150,000 immigrants to benefit, unfortunately." So if you live in California, just get on the phone and keep dialing. Thanks for watching. For more Bradshaw Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.